The quality of a person's life is often determined by the quality of the questions they ask themselves. We don't realize how much of our daily experience is shaped by our internal dialogue. Throughout the day, the mind is constantly asking questions, whether consciously or unconsciously. These questions influence what a person focuses on, how they feel, and ultimately how they act. This is why questions are so powerful. Questions direct focus. Whatever the mind is asked to look for, it will begin searching for. If someone asks empowering questions, they're more likely to find empowering answers. If they ask limiting questions, they'll often find evidence that supports those limitations. Consider the difference between asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" and ask, "What can I learn from this?" Consider the difference between asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" and asking, "What can I learn from this?" The first question focuses attention on victimhood. It encourages the mind to search for examples of unfairness and misfortune. The second question focuses attention on growth. It encourages the mind to search for lessons, opportunities, and solutions. The situation may be exactly the same. The question changes everything. Many people unknowingly ask themselves questions that keep them stuck. Questions such as, "Why am I not good enough?" or "Why can't I ever get things right?" They may seem harmless, but the brain treats them as instructions. It immediately begins searching for answers. Unfortunately, it often finds them. Past mistakes are brought to the surface. Failures are highlighted. Weaknesses become magnified. Before long, the person feels discouraged, not because of reality itself, but because of where their attention has been directed. This is one reason why negative thinking can become a cycle. The wrong questions produce the wrong answers, which then reinforce the original belief. The good news is that this process can work in the opposite direction as well. A person who asks better questions begins to create a different experience. Instead of asking, "Why am I struggling?" they might ask, "What is this challenge trying to teach me?" Instead of asking, "Why can't I change?" they might ask, "What's one small step I can take today?" These questions do not ignore reality. They simply create a more useful perspective. The brain is a problem-solving machine. Give it a problem, and it'll search for solutions. Give it an excuse, and it'll search for justification. The quality of the answer depends on the quality of the question. This principle applies to every area of life. In relationships, a person can ask, "Why don't they understand me?" Or they can ask, "How can I communicate more clearly?" At work, they can ask, "Why am I not getting the opportunities I want?" Or they can ask, "What skills can I develop to create new opportunities?" In personal growth, they can ask, "Why am I so far behind?" Or they can ask, "What can I do today that moves me forward?" The difference may seem subtle, but the results are not. One approach creates frustration and helplessness. The other creates action and ownership. Better questions also encourage awareness. They interrupt automatic thinking patterns and force a person to consider new possibilities. Instead of reacting emotionally, they begin responding intentionally. Instead of focusing on what they cannot control, they focus on what they can. This simple shift becomes significant. Thoughts influence actions. Actions influence habits. Habits influence results. And often those results can be traced back to the questions that were asked along the way. Most of us spend years searching for better answers, but what we really need are better questions. The next time life becomes difficult, frustrating, or uncertain, pay attention to what you're asking yourself, because the mind is always listening. And the questions you ask today may quietly shape the person you become tomorrow. Most people carry two versions of themselves. There's the public version the one presented to the world, the one that looks composed, capable, and in control. This version shows up at work, on social media, in conversations. It's measured, filtered, and often carefully maintained. Then there's the private version, the one that feels doubt, the one that questions decisions, the one that carries stress, insecurity, and uncertainty. This version is quieter, less polished, more honest. For many, these two versions are not the same, and the greater the gap between them, the heavier life begins to feel. At first, the difference may seem harmless. A small adjustment here, a slightly more confident tone there, presenting yourself in a way that feels acceptable or expected. It can even feel necessary at times. But over time, maintaining that gap requires effort. Energy is spent managing perception, thinking about how to appear, what to say, what to hide. The focus shifts outward, toward how things look, rather than inwards towards how things actually are. This is where the tension begins. Someone may appear confident publicly, but privately question everything. They may seem calm while carrying stress they never express. They may present success while quietly feeling lost or uncertain. From the outside, everything looks fine. On the inside, something doesn't sit right. This misalignment creates a subtle but constant pressure. It doesn't always show up as obvious stress, but it's there, in the background of everyday life. It shows up as exhaustion after social interactions, as a feeling of being on all the time, as a quiet sense that no one fully knows you. But the version people see isn't the full version. The more this gap grows, the harder it becomes to maintain. Not because the public image is wrong, but because it's incomplete. It leaves out the part that makes someone real. And over time, something deeper begins to happen. A person can start to lose connection with themselves. When the focus is constantly on how to appear, it becomes harder to recognize how you actually feel. The line between the public image and the private reality starts to blur. You begin responding based on expectation rather than truth. You say what fits. You act how you should. You present what's acceptable. But internally, there's distance. This is where misalignment becomes more than just tiring. It becomes disorienting. Because identity is not built on how you are perceived. It's built on what is true. The longer someone lives out of alignment, the more they may feel disconnected. Even in environments where they're accepted or admired. Approval from others doesn't fully land because it's being given to a version that doesn't feel complete. That's a difficult place to be. Not because anything is outwardly wrong, but because something internally feels off. Alignment, on the other hand, is quieter than most expect. It doesn't mean sharing everything or removing all boundaries. It doesn't mean being unfiltered in every situation. It simply means that the version you present is not in conflict with the version you live. There is consistency between what you show and what you feel. And that consistency creates something many people are searching for without realizing it: ease. When there is alignment, there is less to manage, less to protect, less to maintain. You don't have to remember who you were in one setting versus another. You don't have to carry the pressure of keeping an image intact. You can just be. That doesn't make life perfect, doesn't remove challenge or uncertainty, but it removes the added weight of pretending. And that weight is heavier than most people realize. The quiet shift begins when someone stops asking, "How should I appear?" and starts asking, "What is actually true?" Because over time, it's not the image you present that defines you. It's the version of yourself you're able to live with when no one else is watching. Emotional fatigue doesn't appear loudly, doesn't always come with tears or collapse. More often it shows up as numbness, a dull heaviness, a quiet sense that everything takes more effort than it should. People still show up, still function, still do what's required, but something inside feels worn thin. This kind of fatigue builds slowly. It comes from carrying too much for too long without release, from holding responsibility, expectations, worry, and uncertainty day after day, from being the one who stays steady while life keeps applying pressure. Eventually, even strong people reach a point where their emotional reserves are depleted. What makes emotional fatigue difficult to recognize is how normal it's become. Many live in a constant state of alertness, managing work, relationships, finances, family, and the unseen weight of modern life. There is rarely a clean pause, rarely a true exhale. The nervous system stays switched on, and the mind never fully rests. Over time, this creates exhaustion that sleep alone cannot fix. Emotional fatigue also comes from suppression, from pushing feelings aside because there isn't time to deal with them, from staying composed when things hurt, from telling yourself it's not that bad or that others have it worse. Emotions don't disappear when ignored, they linger quietly, draining energy in the background. When emotional fatigue sets in, joy becomes muted. Motivation fades, small inconveniences feel overwhelming, and patience shortens. People may feel disconnected from things they once cared about and unsure why. This can be confusing and even frightening, but it's not a sign of weakness. It's a signal that something has been carried alone for too long. Recovery doesn't begin with fixing everything. It begins with permission. It's permission to acknowledge exhaustion without guilt, to admit that being fine has come at a cost. Emotional fatigue requires honesty, not just with others, but with yourself. Rest in this context is deeper than sleep. It's emotional rest, space where you are not performing, producing, or proving, moments where you can feel without correcting, judging, or rushing through the experience. This kind of rest is uncomfortable at first because it removes distraction, but it's necessary. Another part of healing emotional fatigue is recalibrating boundaries. Not everything deserves equal access to your energy. Not every problem is yours to solve. Learning where to conserve emotional effort is not selfish, it's sustainable. Energy preserved allows you to show up where it truly matters. Emotional fatigue also asks for gentler self-talk. When energy is low, people often criticize themselves for not being more motivated, more positive, more capable. This only deepens exhaustion. Compassion restores what pressure depletes. Kindness towards yourself is not indulgence, it's repair. As emotional energy slowly returns, clarity follows. Feelings become easier to name. Decisions feel less heavy. Life regains dimension. The goal is not to eliminate fatigue entirely. Life will always bring challenges. The goal is to recognize early signals and respond with care rather than endurance. Emotional fatigue is not a personal failure. It's a human response to prolonged demand. Listening to it is not quitting, it's adjusting. Sometimes the strongest thing a person could do is stop pushing and start restoring. And in that restoration, energy returns, quietly, steadily, and honestly. Nothing meaningful is built without belief. Not strength, not confidence, not progress. Every outcome of consequence begins the same way, with a quiet decision to believe before there is proof. Without that foundation, effort collapses the moment resistance appears. Belief is not loud or dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It shows up in the small moments when no one's watching. When you keep going despite uncertainty, when you take another step without reassurance, when you stay committed even as doubt lingers in the background. Belief is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to move forward with fear present. Most people misunderstand belief. They assume it's something you either have or you don't, as if confidence arrives fully formed. In reality, belief is built. It's shaped through repetition, consistency, and the willingness to trust yourself before the world catches up. It grows every time you act in alignment with who you're trying to become. You see, doubt is part of the process. It's always been. If you're aiming for something meaningful, doubt will follow closely behind. Not because you're incapable, but because growth stretches identity. The mind resists unfamiliar ground. Doubt is simply the signal that you're stepping beyond what you already know. The danger isn't doubt itself, it's what happens when doubt is given authority. When belief is weak, doubt decides. It determines when you stop, when you hesitate, or you settle. But when belief is strong, doubt becomes background noise. It may speak, but it no longer leads. Belief shapes behavior long before it shapes results. When you believe in yourself, you prepare differently. You show up with intention. You recover faster from setbacks. You take responsibility instead of retreating into excuses. Even when progress feels slow, belief keeps you engaged rather than discouraged. Without belief, effort becomes conditional. You try only when it feels safe. You commit only when outcomes are guaranteed. And the moment things don't go as planned, you pull back. Not because you failed, but because belief was never strong enough to withstand the pressure. Belief is what allows you to stay the course when progress is invisible. It's what anchors you during the long stretches where growth is happening quietly, beneath the surface. Most breakthroughs don't come from sudden confidence. They come from sustained belief, practiced daily. Maintaining belief is not about constant positivity. It's about discipline. It's about choosing to reinforce the identity you're building instead of the fears trying to pull you back. Belief is strengthened through action, not affirmation. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, belief deepens. Each time you follow through, it becomes harder to doubt your own capability. This is why belief must be protected. The voices around you will fluctuate. Opinions will change. Results will lag. If belief depends on external validation, it'll never last. But when belief is internal, rooted in self-trust, it becomes unshakable. Every meaningful achievement is the result of someone believing longer than most people were willing to. Long enough to endure discomfort, long enough to move through uncertainty, and long enough to become the person capable of holding the outcome they wanted. Belief doesn't guarantee success, but without it, success is impossible. And if there is one truth worth holding on to, it's this. Belief is not something you wait for. It's something you practice, quietly, consistently, daily. Because when belief holds, everything else will eventually follow. Before the world awakens, while the stars still hold the sky, a lone warrior rises. His armor is not forged of iron or steel, but of scars earned from battles fought in silence. His sword gleams not from fire, but from the countless times he's lifted it when his hand shook with doubt. Each day he stands at the edge of a battlefield unseen by others, a battlefield carved from the shadows of his own mind. And waiting for him there is the enemy within. The enemy has no face, no form. It is a whisper, a shadow, a weight pressing heavy on his chest. The enemy knows him better than anyone else ever could. It knows where he falters, where he hesitates, and where he feels weak. The enemy does not roar, it whispers. Stay down. Rest a little longer. You'll never win. But the warrior knows the whispers well. He has heard them in the quiet hours of dawn, when the world is still and doubt grows loud. And so with steady hands, he lifts his sword. The clash begins. It is not the clang of metal on metal that fills the air, but rather the pounding of his own heart. Every swing is a choice. Every step forward is defiance. The enemy lunges with fear, and the warrior blocks with courage. The enemy strikes with despair, and he counters with hope. Some days the warrior drives the enemy back, standing tall as the sun rises. Other days, the battle cuts deep, and the warrior falls to his knees, his sword heavy in his grasp. But even in those moments when defeat seems certain, he remembers the enemy within cannot truly win unless he surrenders. So the warrior rises. Always he rises. Day after day, the battle repeats. A cycle as endless as the turning of the earth. To the outside world, the warrior looks calm, composed, unshaken. They see his victories, but never the blood he sheds in silence. They do not hear the whispers he fights against. Yet within, he knows the truth. The greatest war is not fought with nations or crowns, but with doubts and fears that live in the human heart. And still, the warrior fights. The enemy grows clever, shifting forms. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's the heavy pull of despair. It waits for moments of weakness, for nights when exhaustion sets in, for mornings when hope feels thin, and always it whispers. But the warrior's resolve is forged in fire, for every scar is proof that he has stood in battle before and endured. Every sunrise is a reminder that he did not break. Every breath is defiance. Though the war is endless, the warrior understands something profound. The fight itself is victory. Each day he shows up. Each day he raises his sword. And each day he chooses to face the enemy rather than hide. He wins. The sun climbs, the shadows retreat, and the battlefield grows quiet once more. The enemy withdraws but never truly leaves. The warrior knows it will return tomorrow. And when it does, he will be there, armor scarred, sword steady, heart unbroken. He's the warrior that battles the enemy within. There's a phrase making the rounds lately. It's called therapy bro summer. And at first it might sound like a joke, like another internet trend. But behind it is something deeply real. It's about men, fathers, brothers, sons, athletes, leaders, finally giving themselves permission to step into a new kind of strength. For generations, men have been told the same story. Don't cry. Don't talk about it. Don't be weak. We've been taught that toughness means silence, that masculinity means carrying the weight alone. And while resilience is powerful, there's a cost to pretending we don't feel pain. And that cost is broken relationships, anger that explodes out of nowhere, addictions that numb what words never expressed. Therapy Bro Summer means courage looks different now. It means the strongest thing a man can do isn't hiding his emotions. It's facing them. It's looking in the mirror and saying, I deserve to heal. I deserve to grow. I deserve to live free from the weight I've been carrying. Therapy isn't weakness. Healing isn't weakness. Vulnerability isn't weakness. They're all acts of courage. They're proof that you care enough about yourself and the people who love you to stop passing your pain forward. Because pain that goes unspoken doesn't disappear, it leaks. It leaks into how you talk to your partner. It leaks into how patient you are with your kids. It leaks into how you lead, how you work, how you see yourself. But when you choose courage, when you choose to step into healing, journaling, breath work, and conversations that scare you, you break the cycle. You take the weight that crushed you and you turn it into wisdom. You take the anger that controlled you and you turn it into compassion. You take the silence that isolated you and you turn it into connection. And this isn't just for men. It's for anyone who's ever been told they have to hold it together no matter what. Emotional courage is human courage, and it's contagious. When one person stands up and says, "I'm ready to face what I've been running from," it gives others permission to do the same. Here's what it looks like in real life. It looks like having the hard conversation you've been avoiding. It looks like admitting to a friend, "I'm struggling right now." It looks like calling the therapist or joining a group, even if you don't know what to say when you sit down. It looks like choosing growth over pride, freedom over fear. Imagine what would happen if more men lived this way. Imagine locker rooms where athletes could talk about not just the game, but about life. Imagine boardrooms where leaders weren't afraid to be honest about pressure. Imagine families where fathers could tell their sons, it's okay to feel, it's okay to talk, it's okay to heal. That's what Therapy Bro Summer is really about. Not a season or a hashtag, but a movement. A new standard for strength, a new identity for masculinity, one that says, yes, I'm strong, yes, I can fight, yes, I can protect, but I'm also brave enough to sit down with my emotions, brave enough to ask for help, and brave enough to grow. Masculinity without emotional courage is a mask, but masculinity with emotional courage, that's freedom, that's leadership. That's love in its strongest form.